On Tech News Today, we go into detail on Microsoft's epic event yesterday, plus new information on the rumor that Samsung may buy BlackBerry. And we'll tell you why Google might be your next wireless carrier. It's all coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, January 22nd, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used iPhone, iPad, and other Apple products are worth at Gazelle.com. And by Blue Apron. Blue Apron will send you all of the ingredients to cook fresh, delicious meals with simple step-by-step instructions right to your door. See what's on the menu this week and get your first 2 meals free by going to blueapron.com/twit. That's blueapron.com/twit. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. Welcome to the show. I'm Mike Elgan, and with us as co-anchor is NPR technology and culture reporter Elise Hugh. How the heck are you, Elise?
I'm doing great. It's great to be back, Mike, and we have lots to talk about today.
We certainly do, but briefly, you said that you had one fan. Somebody was praising you in the chat room, I think, and now I see the fans rolling in. You've got at least 3 now, so congratulations on that.
My fans have gone up 300%. Thanks, fans.
It's amazing. Well, as you said, we got tons of news, so let's jump right into it. Microsoft detailed its upcoming Windows 10 operating system yesterday. There's so much to talk about, so let's jump right in with Ars Technica Senior Product Specialist Andrew Cunningham. How you doing, Andrew?
Hey, guys. I'm doing fine. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Now, everybody's talking about the free upgrade to Windows 10. And, you know, I think a lot of people walked away from the announcement going, it's free, but it's not really free for everybody forever. Can you detail exactly who is eligible for the upgrade and when?
The upgrade is going to be available for all current Windows 7 and Windows 8.1 users, and it's going to be available for the first year after release. And there was some confusion, especially in like the comment sections of our coverage, about whether that meant, you know, it's free for a year and then you have to start paying for it, or it's free in perpetuity. But they've been pretty clear that if you upgrade in that first year after the final consumer release, it's free. You get updates for whatever the supported lifetime of your device is, and you're good to go.
So, Andrew, you're a products guy. You've been watching this for a while. Tell me sort of what's the most exciting news to come out of this Windows 10 announcement for you?
If you're just sticking to Windows 10 and not the crazy hologram stuff,
right.
I think this release in a lot of ways fulfills the promise of Windows 8. You know, they have that the one operating system, you know, one software package that runs on all your devices. You've got apps that can run on all your devices. It syncs between your desktop and your laptop and your tablet. They are keeping the desktop and the kind of touch interfaces separate from one another now, where with the original Windows 8 release, they were kind of one and the same. But it's still the same, you know, basic software underlying everything. And so I think this is the idea that they had with Windows 8, except like executed much better.
Andrew, we knew about the Spartan browser. It's codenamed Spartan. We don't know what the actual final name will be. But what did we learn yesterday about this new browser?
We got a handful of new features about it. They talked about the ability to make clips from web pages. You know, you can take a little bit of text, you can mark it up however you want to, and then share it with people. And they also detailed this new reading list feature where you can save articles for offline use and then format them kind of however you want. Like if you've ever read an ebook in like a Kindle app or something, and you can change the font and the spacing of the lines and things to be easier on your eyes. Apparently this reading view will let you do that with web pages too.
It also looks like Microsoft's answer to Siri, Cortana, is growing up. Tell us what is new about Cortana, what Microsoft is sharing that is an upgrade.
I mean, the biggest upgrade is just that it's coming to the desktop. I mean, it's been available on Windows phones since version 8.1, I think, which was released last year. But now they are expanding it. You know, it started a lot like Siri did, where it had the beta label. It was not available on very many devices. but now they are making it more widely useful on more platforms. So, you can do voice to text on Windows Phone with it. You can ask it questions directly from your Windows desktop. Our Windows guy, Peter Bright, was, playing with some of the Windows 10 systems they had on the floor yesterday. And he told Cortana to flip a coin and it will give you like heads or tails. He asked Cortana what noise a monkey makes, and it said like ook, ook, eek, eek, like very cutesy answers. So yeah, if you like Cortana on Windows Phone, or if you like, Google Now or Siri, that is going to be coming to your Windows desktop too.
Fantastic. Andrew Cunningham is at arstechnica.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at Andrew Writes. Thank you so much for joining us, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, in just a sec, we got some more news for you, but first, I want to tell you about Gazelle, my favorite place in the world to sell gadgets. I've sold things to people using, like a Craigslist kind of thing where you arrange a meetup in a parking lot somewhere and you sell them something. It's a terrible idea. With Gazelle, when you sell your device, they will put it back into service. They'll find a home for it. Somebody else will love it as much as you did, so it's a fantastic place to sell. And it's also a great place to buy. If you're going to buy a new phone and you have a certain budget, Gazelle will let you buy within your budget a better phone than you otherwise would be able to do. And so if you're going to be selling to them, you already have a relationship. They know who you are. They know your address. They know enough about you to sell you that phone very easily. It's super, super convenient both to sell and to buy from Gazelle and to Gazelle. So you got to use Gazelle for selling and buying your gadgets. There's no need for a gadget to be sitting around, and there's no need for you to waste money on a brand new phone when you can buy one that's exactly like new from Gazelle. Find out what your iPhone's worth. Take a minute and go to gazelle.com to find out. Well, Elise, Windows 10 isn't just for PCs, as Andrew said, but for mobile devices as well. Tell us what's going on there.
So Windows 10 gets Microsoft closer to this dream of universal apps that work across desktop and mobile and tablet platforms. So joining us to talk a little bit about this and what it means in the ecosystem for Microsoft is Devindra Hardawar, senior editor at Engadget. Devindra, welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Of course. So how does this notion of universal apps fit into Microsoft's vision?
Well, it's weird because it's something Microsoft's been talking about for a while, actually. Even before the launch of Windows 8, there was this idea that a developer could write a single app and put it on the Windows Store, and then it'll also be available on the Windows Phone Store and maybe other devices too, like maybe even the Xbox. And it seems like with Windows 10, we're finally seeing that happen. Microsoft last talked about it at their build conference about a year ago. So that gave developers some time to start building these apps, but in yesterday's presentation, we saw a couple examples of how it could work. They showed the newest version of Office, running across a Windows Phone, and which I guess that brand is dying too. It's all just Windows 10 now, but running across a phone and a PC, and it looks like basically the same app. Outlook looked the same, PowerPoint looked the same. So it'll be really interesting to see like how Microsoft kind of leverages this to get more people to build apps for its platforms, because that's been the biggest problem with Windows Phone and Windows 8 so far. Microsoft
likes to make things seem simple, but things rarely are simple with Microsoft. They have a kind of conundrum with this vision, which is that their desktop applications and the third-party applications that are created for Windows tend to be on the heavy side, I think, compared to a lot of cloud-based and lighter apps that are out there. And then, on the other hand, their mobile platforms tend to be low-end in terms of their hardware that they create. They tend to create mid-range to very low-end, inexpensive smartphones, which it doesn't seem to me would be able to handle bigger, heavier apps that may be more graphics intensive. How do they intend to deal with the fact that Windows applications tend to be huge and Windows phones that Microsoft makes tend to be weak?
I figure there's going to be some sort of way to just scale how a device actually runs a particular app. And the thing about Windows Phone is that Microsoft wasn't always intending to just aim for the low end and the mid range. That's just kind of how things ended up because they were making these phones. They had the Nokia brand. They were able to kind of bring Windows Phone into Europe and other markets where not so powerful phones could have actually where they could actually sell those things. I don't think we're probably going to see different ways of those apps scaling. I don't think we should rule out Microsoft entirely from the high-end phone segment. Like, there are still rumors about the Surface phone or other high-end phones. You know, they finalized the Nokia deal last year, and I expect a lot of high-end devices to come out too. But yeah, you're right. It'll be interesting to see how the low-end phones handle it. Honestly, we just haven't seen many details yet.
And Devindra, of course, the big question is how developers are reacting. Do you think they're going to get on board and start making apps?
I mean, I would hope so. This is kind of a thing. It's kind of a drum Microsoft's been beating for a while now. And when it came to Windows 8, they actually went to the point where they were kind of buying off developers, or at least paying them to start building apps. But I don't think that worked out really well. We just never really saw any very compelling apps for Windows 8. And what were there were honestly just not as good as just like opening a website in your browser or something. You know, take the Twitter Windows 8 app, for example, which is just kind of hard to use, kind of dull. I'd rather just go to twitter.com or TweetDeck or something. I think Microsoft has more of a chance to get developers on board now, though, because there's the idea that you could build something on Windows and get it running on your Xbox. For media apps, that could be huge. And, you know, if they finally if they bring Windows 10 to phones in a really interesting way, developers may finally pay attention.
Devindra Hardawar is at Engadget.com and on Twitter at Devindra. Thanks for joining us today, Devindra.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, Microsoft's HoloLens stole the show yesterday. The augmented reality glasses appear to place 3D holographic images in the real world. Sascha Segan is the lead mobile analyst for PCMag.com and joins us now. Welcome to you, Sascha.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
So what is this HoloLens contraption exactly?
Well, HoloLens is a headset that you put on, and it has a visor. And the visor has a see-through screen that superimposes images on what you're seeing around you. So, for instance, it can turn your living room into Minecraft. That is one amazing demo they were showing at the Windows 10 demo. But more practically, for instance, they showed someone fixing a sink or fixing a light switch with a plumber or electrician on the other end, pointing out to them, oh, here is the part you need to fix. Here's where you need to unscrew, by highlighting it in the air. It's full augmented reality. It's amazing, and everybody's talking about it.
So for those of us who want to try it out, how soon is this going to be available to consumers?
Nobody knows, and it will probably be years. The only thing that Microsoft has said is in the Windows 10 timeframe. And we're not sure whether that means around when Windows 10 comes out or before Windows 11. And it seems to be more the latter than the former.
Now, I have a bit of skepticism on this whole thing, which is that, you know, clearly everybody's talking about this, and this comes out of Microsoft's research. I don't know if it's out of their research labs, Microsoft Research, or if it's out of another division, but this is research, right? This isn't a product. It's pretty far from being a product. And Microsoft has always had great research. I think what's different this time is that I don't think Steve Ballmer would have showed this off, whereas Satya Nadella showed it off. Everybody got excited about it, and it's good for Microsoft. I'm glad they showed it off. But is there any evidence that Microsoft has grown the ability to productize this kind of awesome research?
Well, they're saying they will productize it. And it has, I mean, it has a lot of elements of things Microsoft has done. For instance, there's a big element of Connect in this, in terms of how it senses your gestures and what you're doing in a room, and then interprets that for the augmented reality area. So it's definitely a new move for Microsoft, but Microsoft intends to productize this. Whether or not they're capable of doing that, well, that's a question that I guess we haven't figured out the answer to.
And I guess the macro question for all of this is, especially in light of all of the big unveils this week, is what does the positioning of Microsoft is and making all of these big pronouncements and product displays really show about Satya Nadella's leadership and how things are changing at the company level?
Well, there's two things, really. First of all, he really finally seems to have been able to create one Microsoft. That was a Steve Ballmer phrase about how Microsoft had to break down the silos between their various divisions, which at one point wouldn't even talk to each other for fear of antitrust enforcement, and to turn it into one company which is working together. Okay, so that seems to be happening with Windows 10 and with this HoloLens borrowing from other parts of Microsoft. Microsoft. Then there's the fact that he's trying to make Microsoft, frankly, cool. He's trying to turn Microsoft into a company that consumers feel is innovative, is future-facing. At one point during the presentation, he said, I want Windows to go from something you have to use to something you choose to use, and then something you love to use. So there's a culture shift here that all signs show it's underway. Of course, it's all about follow-through.
And that is, of course, the right thing to say. And again, like you say, we'll see if they can do it. Jason, can you throw up that picture on the screen? The interesting chatter on this, one part of the interesting chatter was that these glasses look exactly like the glasses Michael J. Fox wore in Back to the Future. And what's interesting about that is that the future that Michael J. Fox was in was the year 2015. So I guess this is where Microsoft got the idea. But I just think that's a hilarious thing. They look almost identical.
The future
Microsoft's
is
look a
now.
little better. Yeah, exactly. Now, Sascha, when can we expect this to be a real live product, and what kind of pricing would you expect this to have?
Well, that's the thing. Nobody knows. All Microsoft has said is it's within the Windows 10 timeframe, which a lot of us are interpreting just to mean as before Windows 11 comes out. I think we are a year or two away from this being an actual product. As for pricing, you pick a number out of a hat at this point since we're so far away. I bet for some reason $500 comes to mind, but you know, it's anybody's guess right now. And Google's working on something similar, by the way. There's a company called Magic Leap they bought that has similar technology. So we may see a bunch of competing augmented reality headsets coming out next year or the year after. And
Magic Leap has worked with Oculus to build sort of an augmented reality feature to their virtual reality glasses. It's such an exciting category. I just can't wait till this stuff becomes completely mainstream. And I hope it's cheaper than $500. But even at $500, I think I would have to jump on it. Sascha, we're going to bring you back for another story later in the show. But for now, we'll send you off. Sascha Segan is at PCMag.com and on Twitter at Sascha Segan. Thanks for joining us for now, and we'll have you back in a few minutes.
See you later.
All right. Well, Elise, we got some big news for Microsoft's big-ass tablet lineup. What's going on?
Well, it's big-ass indeed. It's called the Surface Hub. It's 84 inches. It has a 4K screen and Kinect cameras. It's not quite a super TV. It's supposed to be more than that. It's also bigger than most people's entire walls in Manhattan. So to tell us more about this Surface Hub, we have Cherlynn Lowe on the line. She's a writer at Tom's Guide. Welcome.
Hi.
So what exactly is the Surface Hub? How is it supposed to work? Tell us a little bit more about the product itself.
It's really like an all-in-one PC that you can mount on your wall. And you're right, you said it's an 84-inch tablet kind of, but there's also going to be a 55-inch version. And it really is meant for the workplace to enable better collaboration.
Now, one of the things that's exciting about this, I think, is the pricing and the economics of this. When Perceptive Pixel, which is the company that Microsoft bought that enabled them to come out with tablets like this with, I guess you call them tablets. I like to call them tablets. These big screen, touch screen devices. You know, they were like in the upper $80,000 range, like $88,000. The price has dropped down now for their relatively small one, under $10,000. Yesterday on the special edition of Windows Weekly, there was some speculation that they might be in the $5,000 to $7,000 range, if I recall. But I think they're going to be lower than that. I can see these things coming under $5,000, $4,000, $3,000 at some point. We don't know the price of this thing, and of course the smaller one is going to be a lot cheaper than the bigger one. But I think it's interesting to look at the Perceptive Pixel company, the vision. The CEO of that company is Jeff Hahn, who's just a genius visionary, and he uses one full-time as his full-time PC, and he doesn't put it on the wall. He puts it at a sort of drafting angle and uses it like a sort of a table that's up at an angle, which seems to me like the most natural way to use something like this. Do you think that there's any chance that Microsoft will be selling this particular product usable the way that Jeff Hahn uses his, that is at a drafting angle, or is this exclusively to be placed on a wall?
Microsoft hasn't said a lot about, the many ways this device can be used. Obviously, they showed it off only in the wall mount version, but they could obviously also make furniture mounts. You could have it maybe in a table. They could build a kickstand that's sturdy enough to withhold the weight into the device, kind of like the way they've done with the small Surface tablets. It is definitely possible, but Microsoft hasn't said much about how they intend to sell this, so it's really speculation for now.
And of course, this is a similar question that we asked Sascha earlier. How soon can we actually expect to see this on the market or available for consumers?
Yeah, so at our hands-on with the Surface Hub over at the event, Microsoft actually said it would be available later this year. How much later, it's still not clear, but sometime 2015 would be a reasonable time frame.
Well, when it does come out, I'm going to ask Leo to buy me one so that I can use it on Tech News Today to sort of like be like the CNN guys and the Fox News people and like moving stuff around. We'll see if he
Great. Twit
bites.
can do political. Yeah, we can do election night coverage then too.
Exactly. This guy's in favor of net neutrality and he's behind in North Dakota. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. Well, Cherlynn Lowe is at tomsguide.com and you can follow her on Twitter at Cherlynn Lowe. Thank you so much for joining us, Cherlynn.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we told you last week about a January 14th report that Samsung was in talks to buy BlackBerry. After both companies denied the report, everybody stopped talking about it, but now a report in Canada's Financial Post by Claire Brownell says that Samsung is still actively pursuing either an acquisition or the buying of a major stake in BlackBerry. Claire joins us now from Toronto. How are you doing, Claire? How are you doing, Claire? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing well.
Now, how did
you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you. How
Okay.
did you learn that these talks are still ongoing?
Well, I'm a little bit concerned this is going to be a very boring interview because there's not a whole lot I can tell you about how I got the information, obviously where I got the information from. I can tell you that we received it from a source who has knowledge of the dealings between Samsung and Evercore, in terms of Evercore helping Samsung, prepare an outline for, a case for doing the takeover, what the pros and cons might be, how to structure the deal.
Claire, what's in it for Samsung here to buy BlackBerry? If this is indeed true, of course. Well,
there's quite a number of things that would be in it for Samsung potentially, as the document outlines. It's that one of the major strategic reasons for doing it would be to break further into the enterprise market, through a combination of using BlackBerry technology, as the companies have said publicly they're working on doing in Samsung's phones. And also, obviously, BlackBerry has penetration, among businesses and governments currently. And in addition to that, there are, of course, there's BlackBerry's valuable patents and software that Samsung could have access to or spin off, as the document talks about. There's potential tax savings involved. It looks like they're looking at quite a few things that could be positives for Samsung.
Now, it seems to me that given the denials, especially of BlackBerry, which said very specifically that they are not in talks with Samsung about an acquisition, suggests to me that if they are in talks, they're talking not about an acquisition, but about Samsung buying a major stake, a controlling stake possibly. Does that logic make sense to you, or do you think there's any strong evidence that they, in fact, will be really strongly looking for an acquisition?
It does make sense to me. This document does seem to be suggesting that, buying a large minority stake would help get around a number of issues, the regulatory issue being a major one, because BlackBerry would still, be an independent company headquartered in Canada. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Claire Brownell is at nationalpost.com, and you can follow her on Twitter at Claire let me spell that, CLABROW. Thank you so much for joining us, Claire.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, Elise, eBay is splitting off its PayPal unit. We've known that for a while, but sometimes breaking up is hard to do.
Yeah, now that they're actually planning for this spinoff that we've been expecting, eBay may be selling its enterprise unit, and there's a lot of consequences there. So to talk a little bit about that, Deepa Seetharaman joins us with more. He's a reporter at Reuters. Deepa, so for those who don't know, kind of lay the background here for this spinoff and what we're expecting.
Hey, thanks for having me. So in the second half of this year, eBay is going to carve up into at least two pieces, one PayPal and the other eBay marketplaces. Yesterday, they announced for the first time that they're also looking to spin off, either sell to another company or take public eBay Enterprise, which is the third major division within eBay. So, basically the entire company is breaking apart in the second half of the year.
Now, why do they keep doing this stuff? I mean, they buy stuff and then they split it off. It seems very expensive and disruptive. And also, what is this eBay Enterprise unit? I think most of us look at eBay as a place to buy knickknacks and various products. But what do they do in the enterprise side?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point because I think your average consumer, your average shopper isn't 100% sure what all eBay does. So yesterday on the call, John Donahoe, made clear that each division has clarified their vision for 2015 in a way that they haven't in years past. And so, PayPal, of course, is the payments division. You can send payments to various friends, people, businesses, whatever. eBay Enterprise works with brands and retailers and helps them create what retailers call an omni-channel strategy. So basically, it helps them sell things online and on devices and in the store and helps them marry all those systems together and find ways to basically sell more stuff and get more people, interested in the store. And eBay Marketplaces, of course, is where, the auctions happen, but also where they sell a lot of small-time merchants sell their ware. So it is kind of a mixed bag. And I think that's the underpinning rationale for the breakup.
So as this company breaks up, what can we expect in terms of impact on human beings? What sort of job cuts are expected?
So yesterday they said 7% of the company, they would cut about 7% of the jobs across the company globally. So it's about 2,400 jobs. Most of those job cuts will be heavier on the marketplace division than they will in on the payment side. And so that will happen in the first quarter of the year and result in a $100 million charge.
Makes me wonder whether if they spin this off and if there's other investors, they'll be able to use PayPal to make the purchase. We'll see about that. I have my doubts. Deepa Seetharaman is at Reuters.com, and you can follow her on Twitter at @DSeetharaman. Thank you so much for joining us, Deepa.
All right, thanks.
Twitter yesterday launched a new feature in its iOS app that catches you up on tweets you missed while you were sleeping, working, or having a life. It's called While You Are Away, and it shows you a kind of greatest hits of tweets that Twitter's algorithms decide you can't live without. And the feature is coming to Android soon as well. Elise, this sounds to me like the further Facebookification of Twitter, which is a horrible thing because Twitter is, like, Twitter fans like it better than Facebook. They don't want it to become the next Facebook. What do you think of this feature?
Well, how Twitter would respond, since I actually had lunch with somebody from Twitter yesterday, is that for power users like you and me, we wouldn't need a feature that tells us what we missed while we were away because we would never be away. And we would also not want an algorithm that shows us anything different than just kind of our pure timeline because we check it all the time. And so it would make sense for us to have an unfettered Twitter experience. But one of their big issues, of course, is getting the users who just sign up and then to follow Ronaldo, let's say, during the World Cup, and then maybe follow 6 more folks and then don't really get the experience of Twitter in the way that you and I understand it, and then just sort of leave the service. And so all of these additions serve the purpose of trying to help those people, the people who are sort of dabblers or lurkers in Twitter, and get them to actually get engaged longer and kind of see the service. So this is kind of the starter version of Twitter that they're trying to use to get people into it. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just saying this is probably how Twitter would explain itself.
Well, I'm saying that it's wrong because there are plenty of services like Facebook where, and almost all the social networks where you feel like you need to, if you've been gone for a while, if you slept, for example, or, you've been, on vacation for a couple of days, you feel the need to go back and find out what you missed. But Twitter, one of the charms of Twitter is that, that stream is just going and going and going all the time. And if you step away, you don't have to worry about what happened already. You just see what's happening right now, the here and now. That's part of what's great about Twitter. And so what they're doing is two things. They're sort of taking that away. Now they're sort of giving you all this stuff when you first arrive that's not breaking. So now you have to mentally figure out, is this 8 hours old? Is this 2 days old? Or did this happen 2 seconds ago? Now it's a different world. It's a different type of content. The second thing they're doing is they're using algorithms. Twitter used to be like, everybody you follow, you got every single thing they tweeted. And now you're getting stuff from people you didn't follow. You're getting stuff that, you know, it's algorithmically controlled. This particular feature is algorithmically controlled. Once they have algorithms, they're going to ask you, is this right? Do you really want this? Do you not want this? Then they're going to be harvesting that data. And once again, it's another Facebook. So I'm kind of against it.
Really? Because I can't tell.
Well, I think that people, this is another example of companies that have Facebook envy or some other kind of envy, and they sort of turn off their most loyal users in order to attract users who are kind of on the fence. And I think that's a bad idea. Yes, it grows the numbers, but you lose some passion. You lose some of the passion out of your passionate users, and I think that's a bad idea. But that's just me. That's why they don't let me have lunch with them. So anyway, let's go to our next story. A familiar name may be entering the market to provide wireless mobile phone service. Elise, what the heck is going on there? Who is that name?
We're talking about search giant Google. If you didn't hear the news that broke last night, Google is expected to be selling its own wireless service if it does complete a deal that's reportedly in the works with Sprint and T-Mobile. This could be a huge game changer, of course, if Google entered this wireless landscape, of course, though Google PR is staying mum on this. The information in the Wall Street Journal broke this first last night. And Sascha, Segan, do we have you back to talk a little bit more about it? There you are.
Yes, though my internet connection seems a little blurry.
That's why we need Google.
Yeah, you need Google Fiber. So Sascha, tell us what information we know now that's kind of coming out on this, because Google PR, which NPR reached out to this morning, is not confirming or denying anything.
Well, we know relatively little. I happen to know that Google has been working on this idea for at least 4 years, this idea that the major wireless carriers in the U.S. are too restrictive in some way, and they want to offer their own wireless service to somehow shake up the market. So have made some sort of deal with Sprint and T-Mobile to offer up some plan to somebody involving Sprint and T-Mobile service under the Google name. And that's kind of all we know at the moment. And will it be subsidized? Will it allow free access to Google services?
This is the kind of thing that Google's trying to fix, I guess. Sascha Segan, we'll try to get him back on the line. Hang on just a second, Sascha. I just have another question for you here, and hopefully Skype will cooperate by the time I'm done asking my question. But basically, you know, you mentioned the fact that Google's been working on this for a long time, and some critics of these reports are saying that this isn't really news because they've been working on a long time. This is old news. Well, I have a tendency to disagree. If both the information and the Wall Street Journal are suddenly getting sources telling them that this thing is going on, then it's probably more imminent than it's been for a long time. I wouldn't be surprised if they made a move in public very soon, because, you know, typically the people familiar with the matter become super familiar with it when it's really getting real. And so, you know, I have the feeling that this could be happening very soon, but I also could be very wrong about that. What do you think, Sascha? All right, we've lost Sascha, so we're going to move on this story. Again, if you want to check out the details on this, you can check The Information, a story by Amira Fradi, and also the Wall Street Journal. The links are in our show notes, so you might want to check that out. Well, we got some really interesting, we're going to get to some email from, really interesting email from one of our fans. But first, let's talk about Blue Apron. You know, last night, my wife and I went into San Francisco and we went to a fancy restaurant. We paid, I don't know, like $250. It was a really fancy restaurant. And the food was horrible. It was really just terrible. We ended up paying like, you know, $30, $40 tip. And, you know, it's like the whole thing was just, you know, you roll the dice when you go to a restaurant, and many restaurants have very unhealthy food. This is actually a pretty healthy food restaurant, but it was just awful. Blue Apron is a service that will send you everything you need to make better than restaurant quality food yourself. You do everything from scratch, from whole raw ingredients. They send you all the produce, exactly what you need, nothing more than what you need. And it costs less than $10 a person. It's really a fantastic service. Every single time I've made a Blue Apron meal, it's been really fantastic, like really good. They have some really exotic foods and also some like super American foods. They have like beef and pinto bean chili. They have shrimp and pineapple fried rice. That's something I would never make on my own, but thanks to Blue Apron, I can make that kind of stuff very easily. I made pistachio-crusted catfish the other day, and it was really phenomenal. I really like these guys. And they also teach you how to cook. The step-by-step instructions and the way that they present the information makes you feel at the end of the meal preparation like you're some kind of genius Iron Chef or something. It's really a fantastic service. And of course, the meals are pretty low calorie. They make sure that they're all in the 500 to 700 calorie per serving range. So unlike restaurants, you're not going to, like, over time get fatter and fatter by eating Blue Apron. You're likely to get healthier and healthier because this is real food that is kept within reasonable calorie amounts. So see what's on the menu this week and get your first 2 meals free. 2 meals free by going to blueapron.com/twit. And again, blueapron.com/twit. And we thank Blue Apron for their support of Tech News Today. And I thank Blue Apron for that pistachio-crusted catfish. That was amazing. I want to get that again. It was so good. Well, we got an email from a TNT fan named Clay Cross, and he had a really, really interesting point. Here's what he wrote. Mike, on yesterday's show, you mentioned that using encryption, this was actually Tuesday's show, excuse me, using encryption is like whispering in public. I made the correlation that it should be legal to have bulletproof encryption that the government can't crack, and for the same reason that you should be able to whisper and not have your whispered conversations be harvested by the NSA. He said, I agree with that and also agree that good encryption should always be legal. However, I disagree with just about every argument I hear on Twit to support this position. I'll have to simplify my thoughts. Basically, it's that the Fourth Amendment limits the government's authority, but not their capability. Police have the capability to listen to your conversations. They have technology to do that. And also, we reported earlier this week that they have the ability to look through your walls and into your house. That the capability, not necessarily the authority. As a thought experiment, should a safe maker be allowed to manufacture a cheap consumer safe that was absolutely burglar-proof, and in doing so, it was impossible for the police to break into without a warrant? And he doesn't mean that pedantically. And he says, on the other hand, the Second Amendment was designed to limit the government's capability because it gives the population the ability to resist with armed resistance. Okay, stick with me there. This is a really interesting point because essentially the U.S. government has, for the sake of export laws, made encryption a munition, meaning it's a weapon. And therefore, he raises this really interesting point. Should encryption be considered a gun that is protected by the Second Amendment, not the Fourth Amendment? What do you think about that, Elise?
Well, I mean, we basically use the Second Amendment to protect missiles that we can launch from our shoulders. So I guess if we're going to take it that far for, like, you know, automatic rifles and things like that can do a lot of damage, why not?
Anyway, it was an interesting...
Though I'm not a lawyer, this isn't legal speak.
That's right. Well, it is an interesting issue, and of course, I think that as voters, we need to know what to make of of Washington, and of course in the UK and Europe and elsewhere. There are politicians and leaders calling for the right to have backdoors into encrypted messaging services so that they can see everything. In other words, as David Cameron said, there shouldn't be any place where you can communicate online that the UK's GCHQ can't read those communications. And we need to decide as citizens whether that's okay, whether we want to re-elect David Cameron, or if we want to elect an opposition party that's going to oppose that view. And so you can make up your own mind. Well, Elise, in other news, a UK-based developer and web designer named Elizabeth Gardner got 2 tweets in her feed that stacked up perfectly. Can you show those on the screen, Jason? These tweets, basically, it's one after the other. We need to see the whole thing all together in one screen there. What we're looking at is she got 2 tweets side by side. The top tweet shows Joe Belfiore, Microsoft, from the announcement yesterday, and 2 other people wearing the HoloLens glasses. And the tweet right under it is 3 mammals, 1 seal and 2 humans whose legs fit perfectly underneath the first tweet. So it looks like Joe Belfiore has seal flippers. Show the whole thing at once, please, so we can see that. Very amazing. Like, what are the chances? And of course, it makes one of the dudes there look like he has some very female-looking legs on the bottom. So it's a very, very interesting. I don't think that actually happened. I don't think things got that crazy yesterday at the Microsoft announcement. At least I hope not. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Gary Boiseau in Memphis, Tennessee, who posted this picture on Twitter and says he watches Tech News Today from his company's security office. How do you watch or listen to TNT? Just record a video or take a picture of your setup and post it on Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we will find it. That is the Tech News Today. Elise, Hugh, what the heck are you working on these days, and where can people read that?
Well, it sounds like I need to get working on whether Samsung is going to indeed try and acquire BlackBerry, since I'm going to be in Samsung's backyard soon for a new post in Seoul. So you can easily find me, of course, on the aforementioned Twitter, and where I'm a power user at Elise WHO. It's right there on your screen. And I'm on NPR On Air and online.
Everybody follow Elise at Elise WHO. Thank you so much for co-anchoring today. We will see you next time.
Of course. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Well, you can subscribe to Tech News Today on Yahoo, and please leave a review and let us know how you like the show. Choose your favorite way to subscribe at twit.tv/TNT, and you can watch us live every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC at live.twit.tv or on the app or browser plugin of your choice. Follow us on Twitter. Tech News Today TV is our Twitter name, and you can follow me personally on Google+. Just search Google+ for my name, and you'll find me. And send email to tnt@twit.tv or call 260-TNT-SHOW and let us know what's on your mind. And please don't miss our evening newscast, Tech News Tonight, at 4 p.m. Pacific tonight and every weeknight right here on the Twit Network. My name's Mike Elgan. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.